the kitchen of intrigue, Curt Jackson and Chris Callow are cooking up a batch of mystery soup.
Each episode serves a new blend of tips, tactics, trends, and tales from the business and design sides of the escape room world.
So grab your spoon, because this episode starts in 3, 2, 1.
Mystery Soup.
Welcome back to the Mystery Soup podcast. I'm Curt, and with me is Chris. How's it going, Chris?
Good. I just noticed I had chocolate on my hands from the brownie Carrie made me earlier. So,
Well,
I got a
why would you say
pre-podcast
that
snack.
and not offer anything?
I have a whole other brownie here, Curt. You want me to save it for you? Come on by. How far is it to Indiana? Just a couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours from Florida. Just a couple.
I'll just lick it every so often. I'm waiting for you to get here.
Awesome. You're killing me, man. You're killing me. All right. Well, today we have Robert and Joe from Giant Dream Productions, which when Tina and I were near your area on our trip, we were able to stop by and see everything, the production, which was neat to see. Let's first have you two introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves outside of the business, kind of maybe what you guys do on your off time, if you have off time. Take it away.
I was actually going to say that. I have off time? I'm not really sure. But hey, I'm Joe DiDomenico, and I'm the art director of Giant Dream Productions. We've been around since 2016. I'm married. I have 2 kids. One is in high school, one is in college. But yeah, as an artist, I don't have a lot of time I pretty much am an artist all the time. It's not a 9 to 5 job. Absolutely. I'm a nerd at heart, and I do a lot of nerdy stuff in my free time, but that's about it.
Nice.
I'm Robert Dudzik, co-owner there with Joe. Wife, no kids, no dogs, no pets, no time. Just designing escape rooms, sitting in a shop, breathing in sawdust constantly. That's pretty much what I do for fun.
Wow.
Kind of an all-in guy. We like going out to dinner, stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, I'm just pretty much all in on escape rooms.
Cool.
Robert, I like on your website, it says your official title is Idea Wrangler. I like that.
I'll tell you, it comes from, I always liken myself to Walt Disney, and not because I'm great, but because I'm really good at ideas and nothing else. So my job is Idea Wrangler, coming up with the blue sky and stuff like that. And other than that, I let my guys do their jobs.
That's me. I wish I had guys to do the jobs to make my dreams come true. Yeah.
It helps.
So what are y'all's backgrounds? How did you get where you're at now?
For me, I graduated many years ago, 100 years ago, in a degree in illustration. My career has been a really weird, winding road of different art stuff. I was a freelance illustrator for a while and a graphic designer. I worked with clients like Disney and Universal for a while.
Awesome.
I designed my own toy lines and did a lot of children's book work. And one of the toy lines that I created was a toy line called Teddy Scares, which was a line of zombie teddy bears. And I was out in the haunt industry for a long time, and that's where I met Robert, and that's where I'm at now. But overall, it's been a really long, winding road. Robert, you?
Yeah, no, I had done haunted houses for like 23 years. Started right out of high school, realized that I'm not a good student and I don't like structure. So I needed to find something artistically to do. And people kept calling me an artist, and I didn't think I was. But I got into haunted houses because I thought it was like, this is when a friend of mine was like, hey, got this thing, we should try it. And I'm like, cool, let's try it. And 23 years later, decided to get out of that when I first did my first escape room was about 2014. And I was like, this is what I should be doing. So I went from the haunted houses, kind of quit that when I found escape rooms, and boom, hit that. And just been running full force now.
Which is interesting because you guys don't have any horror rooms, right?
We do not. We both love horror, but no.
We've done one. We did a one-off one early
Okay.
on for a special haunted house client. It was a 8-room serial killer game that we played.
It was
That we built.
craziest room.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nuts. A matter of fact, I think that was 2017 because I believe the escape room artist had done a thing on it, a piece on it, and I remember getting a call from David and say, "You guys built that room, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah," and he said, "That was my second favorite room of that year." He goes, "It was crazy. I felt like it was actually running from a serial killer." I was like, "Well, I guess we
Wow.
did our job."
Right. That's cool.
I just feel like that in What Happened in Vegas, that alien looking thing is pretty terrifying. So that counts.
That's just a hangover. That's just a hangover he's having.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, when did you do your first room, or when did you get hit by the bug?
So that's actually part of where Robert and I kind of connected was Robert's escape room.
Okay.
Basically, like I said, I was doing the convention circuit, a lot of horror conventions, a lot of stuff like that. And Robert and I had connections through his haunted house for a lot of years. And he had come to me at a convention and he said to me, "Hey, I got this thing, I'm working on right now. You want to check it out?" And I had no idea what it was. And he had mentioned escape room, and I know, like in the industry, or to the customer, a lot of people think it's Saw and you're trapped in a room and a thing
Right.
like that. And Robert brought me into where his haunted house was, and the first thing he did was lock me to a wall. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is the craziest room." And I loved it. I
I've
really
just met a
loved the
serial killer.
immersive quality of it. It was, well, his first room it was a factory that was basically, the building was going to explode in an hour, and you had to get out of the factory. And it was great. It was really fun, and it really did catch my interest immediately because like I said earlier, I'm a big nerd, and all of the theme parks and stuff like that. I love that stuff, and I love the immersive quality of that stuff. And I hate to keep using the word immersive, but I love that kind of stuff. And I immediately got excited about it as soon as I left that room, and I was like, the possibilities here are crazy, like what you
Yeah.
could do. And it was the Wild West of escape rooms at the time. And now we just keep getting better and better every year. And we keep refining what we're doing. But that raw room was awesome.
Nice. And have you done a lot of rooms since then, the two of you?
Our families go on vacation a lot together, and one of the things we
Oh,
do is
nice.
escape rooms. But the funny part is that Robert and I almost never do the escape room. We're standing in the corner watching our family play the escape room, and we're just talking the whole time about what we like and what we don't like, and
Yeah.
watching paths and stuff like that. But we've done a fair amount of escape rooms in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, we study how our family does the escape game to get a better idea of how people move about. His kids are teenagers and in their 20s, and my wife's a teacher, his wife's a nurse, and so we have a good level of different kinds of people. So it's nice to watch and see how they flow through the room. It gives us better guidance on how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it shows you love what you do. So
Like I was saying earlier, as an artist, you're an artist all the time. So it's when I go to the movies, I'm taking notes, and it's just my kids think I'm the biggest nerd because I'm constantly talking about art or something that's connected to it in some way.
yeah. Did you ever get into Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, I do play Dungeons and Dragons, and I get made fun of it constantly by Robert. So yeah.
I think you guys would make an amazing fantasy game that would be kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y.
It's funny you say that because one of the rooms that I've been arguing with Robert back and forth about is doing some sort of medieval room. We did a small one, but Robert thinks that I'm completely nerdy and won't join me on the
Come
path
on,
to
Robert.
being a wizard.
I am not. I'm just not well versed in it. I've never really been into the wizards and the Dungeons and Dragons type style, so I just don't know much about it. So
the reason I like Dungeons and Dragons is like why I like escape rooms. I like storytelling. So to me, that kind of thing is all hand in hand. Whenever we design a room, it really is about story first. So
Sure.
we try to put that in there, and that's why I love games like that.
Yeah, for sure. Robert, have you owned a candy factory, or have you No, but you did a game. You did a game, so you could do a fantasy game.
I guess, but it's funny because like I'm a Disney guy, I'm a Disney Universal guy, so like
Yeah.
I do a lot of Disney. I grew up on Pirates of the Caribbean, so like we've done a
Mm-hmm.
pirate room, and I really like the Jules Verne 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We've done that style submarine, and everyone's like, "Oh, military." I'm like, I don't want to do military. I want to do this fantastical. I want people to walk in and just wow, and so I like that fantastical feel. But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. Yeah, I never owned a Wild West Railroad, but it's just
Right.
I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I have a block against this like wizard thing. I just can't figure it out.
I'm going to take Robert to the Renaissance Fair, and we're going to
there
dress
you
in
go.
robes, and it's going to be great.
As we've
There
done
you
this podcast, there's a lot of escape room owners that are big into D&D. So
Yeah,
you have a
absolutely.
pretty good market to sell a room to. I know
true.
that.
Do you guys play D&D?
No, I don't have time for that.
Nobody will play it with me. So I got to play it once 20 years ago. I didn't grow up, just didn't have any friends that wanted to, and I always wanted to get into it. And so the friends I have, like this knucklehead, he won't play it with me. So
it's too time consuming. It's too long. I ain't got time for that.
Well, so the funny part is I actually grew up with neighbors who played all the time. I mean, their basement was full of pieces of plywood at different levels, and they had these huge games. And I would come over and be like, "Hey, oh, you guys are doing that? I can't." And then I would leave.
Come
I
on.
just couldn't. And they would have they would try to get me into it. I just didn't. It just didn't register with me.
That's fair. I mean, not for everyone. I get that.
It's a cult. It's a cult. Just stay away from it.
Look,
I remember when I was a kid, that's what it was. It was like, oh, D&D.
Oh yeah, in the 80s, it was definitely.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to games, Cards Against Humanity, I'm big on that. Anything else, not so much.
That's hard to make a room out of, but you might be able to do it.
So you talked about some of your rooms. You got the pirate room, and Curt kind of mentioned the candy room. Tell me a little bit about some of your rooms and why you chose some of those themes for it.
So it's funny. I was going to say the candy room actually came up years ago. It was one of the first rooms we talked about, and Joe really kept pushing. He wanted to do a really cool candy room, and my problem had been we had played a couple candy games, and I felt like they were all the same. And we're only having fun if we're doing something new and different. We kept sitting down and going, what is this candy game going to be? And the candy game was like, okay, well, people were doing, you inherited your uncle's factory and you got to find the recipe. And it just kept revolving to that. And we would talk back and forth, and we would pick it up and put it down, every 6 months or so. And then finally we're like, look, we really need a candy game. People want a candy game. And in one of our conversations, we decided, well, what's big right now? What's different? And it came to like, oh, well, competition shows, Master Chef and Survivor and all these shows. What if we did a candy room like that, where you're on a game show type setting and you're supposed to be competing against other people, and let's just make it as crazy as possible. And it was out of not having a good idea where the good idea came from, which was like, let's throw the craziest things at the wall and see what happens. And that's what we did. And then all of a sudden we sat there and was like, well, now this kind of works. And then with Joe's art, we had this zany idea, and Joe went and he's like, oh, give me some days to figure this out. And he came back with these just crazy designed room walls and coverings, and it just looked like the color palette splashed against the wall.
It looks amazing.
Thank you.
I love it.
I'll tell you, I was a little nervous before we actually put the room together. I was like, this is getting a little crazy, but we'll see how it comes together. And I was really, pleased with it at the end. A lot of times with the clients that we work with, we're in some sort of storefront on a corner, and it's just a white box. And then it's like we have to create something magical out of an old office space or something like that, 10 by 10 box. That kind of stuff is a big challenge for us, because we work with all different levels of client. We work with mom and pop escape rooms and we work with FECs. We're constantly like challenged in that way to make something that works for all these spaces. I mean, they adjust, but yeah, we a lot of times end up in a cube and it's like, how do you make this cube exciting and fun? And you know,
Right.
if somebody walks in that they're just wowed by it and they're not just, oh, I'm just in a cube.
And so you have the six rooms available right now, right? So what's happened in Vegas? The Candy Factory, Speakeasy, the Pirates, the Hidden Temple, and Shipwreck.
Yeah, there are main rooms right now. Robert and I are working on some new ones when we're going back and forth. Yeah, but there are main six ones. There's other ones that we have, but we've only sold them as one-offs and stuff like that we don't really
Yeah.
We've evolved, I feel like, over the past couple of years. And when we did these one-off rooms, we didn't have the opportunity to really develop them the way we wanted to. Now we just did a tomb room that we put in a few of them. Our original tomb room is not as good as what it is now. So we had to almost like, at first we were like, we'll just polish it and get there. And then we totally revamped it. We ended up like doing a whole new room again. So I think some of the older rooms we may visit those themes again, but by the time we get back to them, they're going to be totally different things.
Gotcha. I've played 4 of your rooms, and Shipwreck Island, I think, is my favorite of the 4 that I've done.
That's Robert's favorite.
Oh, is it? Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And your props and your scenery are very Disney. They have that feel. How do you pull that off?
We call it fantasy reality. We have to keep within a style because we are doing a lot of things where, you know, most people, and we did it at the beginning, will just go buy a thing, put it into the room, and now that's a prop. And the problem with that is you start getting disconnections between all your pieces. So we have to figure out a style that fits into everything. And that's that Disney style of this is an oven, but how is it a cool oven? How do you make an oven cool? And it's the colors, it's the little bit crazier shapes. And when you look at it, you go, I definitely know that's an oven, but it doesn't look like a real oven. Or in the case of the shipwreck, we have military crates in there that are supposed to be a radio puzzle and stuff. And when you look at them, you get that feeling, but you also, it's a fun version of it. And it's done with colors and shapes and sizes are slightly off from what they should be. But it's weirdly keeping reality pieces and changing the shape and size and color to give it a different feel.
When you do an escape room, if for an hour you are escaping reality. And I feel like that really plays into it. This is not normal life, right? So that's why I like the look of your game so much. Since yours is Shipwreck Island, yours favorite. Joe, what's your favorite of the ones you have available?
I like
right
the
now?
Candy Room. I think that one is my favorite.
That's some love for that.
Yeah, it is eye candy. It's why I like it. It's just it's overly sweet.
Yeah.
It's great.
And is there a theme you guys really want to tackle in the future?
That's a good question. We've gone back and forth with taking rooms that are themes that you've heard and twist them on their side a little bit. So we've talked about a spy room a lot that we've gone back and forth on. We did a hillbilly room that we wanted to go back to and revisit it. So those rooms are ones that are on the forefront right now. Again, for the big color splash thing, I've wanted to do a superhero room to get back with my illustration stuff. So that's one that I keep poking at Robert that I want to do a superhero room.
That would be cool. I think you guys also would do a good fairy tale Big Bad Wolf game.
That would be really fun.
Yeah. It's funny. The candy room actually started that way. The candy room was going to be an offshoot of a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs type feel, where the first room you were going to be like in a mine where you were mining these different candy parts. And it was very like the ride at Disney, the new Snow White one they have. The mine train, and so it evolved all over the place. It came from everywhere to get into that final thing, which has none of that in it. But but again, 4.5 years of trying to design a room, you throw everything up, and so it's funny because that was one of the pieces. We're like, it'd be really cool. What if it was a mine shaft and you had to mine this stuff? Then you had to make the candy, and it was this magical candy, and so that was one of the ways we originally went with it. But
well, now I want to play that game.
I'm usually because of some of our limitations with some of our clients of the space. I'm usually the naysayer at first, and I'm like, oh, it'd be great if it had big ceilings, and oh, it'd be great if it had this. And Robert's like, no, 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 we can pare that down and do this, and then I fall back a little bit, and I have to rethink it. Robert's definitely more big picture in that way, where he'll bring these big things to the table, and I'm always the guy on the other side going, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do that. Like, I'm going to make a mine train, but in a 10 by 10 cube. But it's like,
So
that's
you guys are the
definitely.
perfect partners, is really
Yeah,
what it
we
comes
we
down to.
definitely work off each other a lot. Robert is both on the how we get the most bang for our buck out of the thing to give the best impression when you walk in that door. And I'm always like drawing up stuff, and then we keep seeing how we can visit stuff and look at it in a different way, in a way that is because of Robert's background in the haunt industry. He taught me so much on like what you see and what you don't see. And we make sure that when somebody walks into that room, they see the things they want to see. But for example, we tell our clients all the time, like, paint the ceiling black. And they go, well, what? It's just going to be a black ceiling. I'm like, if you're looking at a black ceiling, then we're doing something really wrong at that point. Like we're making a terrible game. For us, that's that look over here kind of thing when you're playing.
In my head, I'm picturing your warehouse. You got this big warehouse with lots of things to work on, but do you have like a showroom where all of these rooms are at?
Unfortunately, we don't. What we have done in the past, we've been lucky to have some really good clients that we've had for a long time. They're looking for a new room. We're looking to do a new room. With the candy room, we had a guy in Michigan, and he had like 3 rooms from us already. And we're like, we're going to do this candy room. He's awesome, cool. And we're like, we're going to give it to you first. And that room is always slightly different than the final one. But having those clients that just trust your ability and your rooms, and if that's an awesome theme, I don't have it. Whatever you give me, great. And so that's how we do it. We partner with a guy, or person, the company. We build that room for them, and then we step back and go, what worked, what didn't work. And usually we go back and tweak theirs a little bit. And then the next version of it is like basically the final version that we sell to everyone.
That's where we played in Novi. Tina and I played the candy room there. So we didn't get the final version. Is that what you're saying?
So it is slightly different. So yeah, the one in Novi in the desk, the final piece is the thing comes up out of the desk, and there's supposed to be candy in there, and this note that you won. And we found out that even though dum-dums are really small, like 20 dum-dums is okay, but 21 dum-dums won't lift the actuator.
Right.
So we're like, it was very hard to build that and get it correct. So let's not do that again. And then we decided to build this other console with a TV screen in it, and the medallions go there instead. And then we can play a video on it. And it's another piece that looks cool we love designing new pieces. So to a fault, we're never happy. We're like, this room is cool. How can we make it cooler? Well, this really cool TV stand that's
awesome.
Purple and gold, and it does this. So it is slightly different. The game is pretty much the same, just a few little minor tweaks.
So do you guys have any rules that you follow as you create? I mean, you talked about with your designing of that look, but are there some rules that you're like, these are rules that we follow every time?
I don't think we think of them as rules, but
yeah, we're pretty loosey-goosey in that way. We are definitely story first. We try to come up with what that concept is, and then everything follows from that. I go off into my corner and start to do research after we have an initial story. I do some blue sky stuff with one of my other designers, and we just scribble a bunch of stuff. We do a lot of thumbnailing, and there's no real gameplay yet for me on my side. I mean, I might come up with something, but really I want to bring an aesthetic back to Robert, and Robert's really great at seeing the scribbles that I'm doing and going, that could be a this, or this could, this could do that. And it's funny because we just worked with a client that said, do you guys have a flow chart that you could provide for us? And we're like, we don't do that at all. That's not the way we work, because we feel like our games are really nonlinear. And I know that's like an industry thing, just like immersive is an industry thing that people say a lot, and nonlinear is a thing. But we don't like the fact games that we've seen played where like a bunch of people are ganged up at one puzzle and they can't do anything else. We try to like always spread people out. So in the process, what we're constantly doing is I'm doing sketches, I bring them back to Robert, we start blue skying these puzzles, and then we start moving them around to go, how can I get somebody over here and somebody over here that they're all doing different things? So that's kind of our process. We've done stuff where we're just kind of like using post-it notes and sticking them all over the place and just doing it that way. Really, the process changes from time to time depending on the game. And sometimes it comes easy and sometimes it comes harder. Our Vegas game took us a long time. It took us about a year to put that game
Interesting.
together. It was something else when we did it. We even locked ourselves in a cabin at one point for a couple of weeks to get out of the office because we were like, we can't be left alone and we have to figure out how to do this. It was kind of funny story because we had just done a few drawings and a client was like, we'll take that room. And we're like, well, how are we going to build this room? We don't even know what the hell we're building yet. And we went off and we just started brainstorming from that, from scribbles, basically.
I don't think people really understand our chaos that we actually work in. Everyone has like we do things this way, and we've sold like Jody said, we sold 4 of those Vegas rooms total before we had one piece built.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Other companies is much more refined, and that's not how we work. We're more splattering paint on a wall artist types.
That's fair.
I mean,
That's how we design.
We do bring family members in and stuff like that and say, try this game out and see what happens. Like we'll
Sure.
R&D in that way. For example, when we were using Dan and Novi, it's almost a surprise to us when it's played the first time, like where we're watching people play it and we're going, that's got to be fixed. We usually bring our families in or something like that to play it and see what happens. We have it worked out fairly well, but it's always a surprise at the end of the day. When you look at something, you go, I never would have made that connection to that people are seeing that. And after you watch people play it once, twice, 3 times, you go, how are they making that weird connection to that? And we have to change that thing. We have a speakeasy and we had, people always look at clocks, for example. They always go, oh, that clock, that means something. But the funny part was I had designed like a time clock and the time clock had a time on it. And the final puzzle of the game, because Robert always makes fun of me because whenever I pick a combination, it's always the same combination. The final puzzle was the same as the time clock on the thing. And I made no connection to the 2 things at all. And the client called us up and said, they keep just getting out of the room. Like, we don't know what's happening. And I'm like, I don't know. How are they doing that? It's a random number. How are they picking this number? And I looked at the piece of artwork and I was like, oh crap, like it says 315 on it and the final thing is like 315 out. So they would immediately surpass 9 things out of the game and just turn the knobs and was like, we win. And I'm like, oh no, I'm terrible at combinations. I'm no longer allowed to pick the combination.
You talk about going to a cabin, kind of getting away from everything. You ever thought about going on a cruise and doing the same thing?
We did. We just had our wedding anniversaries. The same month we have our wedding anniversary. Mine was
We're a week
25th
apart.
wedding anniversary. Robert's was 20th. We took a cruise together, the 2 couples, and of course, Robert and I only talked about escape rooms the whole time.
That's right.
That's funny.
Well, you said that cabin when Curt built an escape room for me at my last camp that I worked at. It was in this old cabin and he was in there working one day, put up his post-it notes, and a big giant snake fell on him out of the rafters. So he stopped locking himself in the cabin, I think, after that.
I was traumatized. So
we're a little too bougie for that. We do a KOA,
You do the nice ones, yeah.
trailer cabin, yeah.
There you
Air
go.
conditioning, beds, yeah. We're not roughing
So-
it.
What would you guys say sets your company apart from other companies that provide full escape rooms?
It's funny. I constantly get asked about how we do things different or the same, or have you seen this person or that person? We don't really follow other companies. And I went back to earlier when you were talking about escape room games. For a long time at the beginning, we didn't play games. I didn't play games because I didn't want to copy people's stuff. and it's an inherent thing that you do by accident, subconsciously. I don't know what other people do. I don't know what really sets us apart, except for we are really hyper focused on the experience of the player, and we don't, even though these are escape room games, we really don't look at them as games. We look at them as an experience. I want everyone to win our rooms. I want everyone to be able to play, get out in that last 10 minutes, have fun, have a great experience, want to come back and play another one. That's how companies make money. Is people come in, they have a great time, they leave, they talk about it, they come back and play again. So when we're designing a room, we really look at it as an experience where you're playing games, not a game that hopefully is an experience.
We try to make it where it's challenging but not frustrating. For us, we design not for the experienced escape room player, but really for the mainstream audience, like most of the time for a first time player. So we always have that attitude of like, you might get a family with some kids in it, you might get a bunch of adult players. So they got to be able to walk in that room and not feel frustrated and walk away with a fun time, basically.
I would say we're conscious about building a busy game, not a hard game. And again, I don't know how other people look at it, but we try to create as much as we can going on in a room, as Joe said earlier, to keep people active and busy. Idle hands break a room.
Yeah.
So if you have 4 out of 6 people or 3 out of 8 people doing nothing, there's a good chance that eventually they're going to break parts of your room. If you can keep everyone active and everyone, there's always going to be a person in there that got pulled along, doesn't understand escape room games or whatever, that just doesn't get the theme or whatever. So we try to put in a physical challenge, like one physical challenge. Anyone can take balls and try to knock coconuts off of a stick, or anyone can try to play beer pong into a bathroom toilet. So everyone can do something. And we do a lot of small games on the side. So, when you first play a game, if you have 8 people, you could break off into multiple groups, and 8 people could be doing 3 different things at one time. That way it keeps everyone busy and motivated and fun. And what we try to do is towards the end, bring those separate groups together at the end to be able to finish the room and feel like they completed it as one.
Do you think, we're designing a game for, say, 6 people or for 4 people so that it works with a few less or a few more?
The industry itself has changed so much as in terms of like, people would be like, oh, you're going to fit 10 people in a room, and it would start there. And then it kind of evolved into what happens if a couple wants to come in and play, 2 people want to come in and play. So just like I was saying about the different age groups, it's the same thing about quantity of person that comes into the room. We try not to do stuff that's like, you absolutely have to have 4 people to play the game. Like you could technically play the game with 2 people in it.
Sure.
That nonlinear thing of being able to split off into different areas is important to us. We try to sometimes have things where it's like, usually like going from one room to the next, we try to make it where you access the second or whatever multiple room very quickly. So you have that back and forth play where it's like some people are in one room and then some people are in the other room, and they have to shout back and forth to each other or deal with each other in some way in different areas. That to me, that's more exciting, and it again, it stops people from being crowded up into one area, all standing around one puzzle, where 3 people are one person's working on a puzzle and 3 people are standing watching the one person do the puzzle. It's like, to me, that's not fun. All the time, like when we leave an escape room and we're like, that was not a good escape room, whether it was aesthetically bad or gameplay bad. Like you were asking before about have we played a lot of escape rooms? When we walk out of an escape room, it's like sometimes I've been in games that I'm like, wow, aesthetically, that's amazing. And gameplay wise, that is not that great. And then it goes the opposite, where I've been in rooms where I'm like, aesthetically, this is terrible, but wow, that was really a fun game. So we try to balance that as much as possible to like make it where it's visually exciting and it's a fun game at the end of the day, where it's like everybody walks out and goes, I got it. I had a great time. I walked out and enjoyed it. It's
Nice.
funny when we talk to clients and they have that us against them mentality where it's like, oh, this game's really hard and it's really hard, for that person to get out of the game and win. And I'm like, why would you want that? Why do you want people to leave and go, oh my God, I lost.
And be mad.
Big dummy. I couldn't get out of the room. We want it where, to us, the biggest success is if they get out at, 59 minutes and everybody's, yay, we got out. Like, to us, that's the fun part, man. That's like, you want people to come back, and like Robert said, you want them to come back and do another room. You want them to come back and,
well, and also as game designers, you spend a lot of time putting a story together and everything. You want people to get through the whole thing and experience the whole story.
Exactly. If you went and see movies would have never lasted. If a 2-hour movie, you only ever got through an hour of it, and then you had to go home.
Right.
Because you would never get the ending. So, like, when it comes to people who are so bent on, oh, well, it's about the game, and it's the 15% success rate, and people usually they only get through half the game, and that it's great, and it's like it's not. That's not great. That's not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Usually means your puzzles are awful. Yeah.
Right. Do you talk to your customers? Did they leave going, it was great, I only did 3 things in the room? No, it's not. Like,
thankfully, most people are getting away, or most businesses are getting away from that now. So, yeah.
But that was some of our hurdles at the beginning.
Sure.
It wasn't. People didn't see the industry as an entertainment industry. They saw it as a game industry.
The people do not want to pay $40 a person and not finish.
Sure.
I can tell you the first, I did a lot of the sales. I still do, but in the first 3 years or so. And I can tell you that more than half the people I talked to back then, one, thought we were too expensive. And two, we were too expensive because we did all that stuff on the walls that doesn't matter. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. And they're like, well, you guys go heavy on all the detail and stuff, and really it's about the game. And I'm like, it's not, because if that was the case, Disney would be Six Flags. But it's not.
Right.
Disney's Disney, and Disney is the #1 attraction in the world because it matters, and it should always matter. But it didn't back then. And it is nice that finally we are in a time where it does matter much more to a majority of the owners out there. So,
well, and I will say, Robert, that we have played games that were purchased from companies that, make the full games, and were not great puzzle wise. And you're just like, this looks beautiful. Kind of like what you were saying, Joe, this looks beautiful, but the gameplay is not great. But I can definitely say that we enjoy playing your games. The puzzles are good and it looks great.
I appreciate that.
Is there anything y'all say you'd improve or change about your business?
We are totally disorganized, so I'd love to work on that a little more. Our process is chaos. Every year we've gotten better, and we've been doing this since 2016, and every process has gotten a little tighter and a little tighter. But when we first started, we were just a disaster as in terms of making every mistake you could possibly make. And now I feel like we're only making mistakes once a day instead of,
Well, and it sounds like you guys improve all the time anyways, whether it's improving the game, you're always looking to improve.
I think that's what
We are.
I'm really pleased about, is that we are never satisfied. We're constantly looking at stuff going like, this could be better. And we have to keep it within a certain budget or whatever to sell the game. Because Robert and I have that Disney mentality of like, I want to wow somebody when they walk in. We try not to skimp. We try not to like in any way. We do try to give the client the most bang for their buck when they, both in gameplay and in aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about mistakes at the beginning. What were some of those mistakes that you made at the beginning?
For me, it was
money.
For me, I think it was doing so much of the one-off stuff. That was definitely like something where it was always like such stop and go, where the client would call up and go, we want you to build this thing. And then we go, okay, let's build that thing. And then the next day we're like, let's build this thing. And we never really had the opportunity to fine tune anything. It was just move from one thing to the next thing. And we had come out of pandemic, and Robert had said, look, we have to start looking at building more than one of this thing, as opposed to, just, it was really like eye-opening to me when he had brought it up, because I didn't know how to articulate that, but then he brought it up in that way, that we were constantly chasing a different ball, where now we work on a game and then it's like we can fix it and make it better, and then it's like the next client gets it and we can call the first client up and go, hey, you know what, we did this little thing to the game and now it's better and it works much better. Where as a one-off, it never worked exactly the way we wanted it to work.
So is that what you do that? Like if say you sell to 5 different businesses a game, and at one of the businesses they're like, oh, we found out that it works better this way, this puzzle works. Do you contact the other 4 and say, hey, look, we think this is something you should
relationships
change?
with our clients.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's great is it's a back and forth, really. Like they call us up and they'll say, hey, you know what, we realized this thing, like people get stuck here, and then we'll make a fix, and then we'll call them up and go, all right, we came up with something for that. The good thing about our company is we've had a good relationship with pretty much every one of our clients, where we still talk to them all the time. And the good news has been that a lot of times clients will come back to us and they build a second room and a third room. But so we have those conversations a lot back and forth. And then, we will contact them and go, look, one of the things, either to refresh a room or to make the room better, we've added a puzzle or we've done this. And sometimes they'll buy one-off puzzle and put it in and add it because it's added a little something better. In our speakeasy, we had a game that was basically like a tap puzzle, and it was like pull the taps and kind of thing. The thing always broke, and it was always a problem. And we had come up with a completely different thing, and we contacted all the people who had speakeasy and said, look, we know this thing is a problem. We have this other thing. Let's talk about it. And we did change it out in a lot of the games.
Nice.
I hope the one thing that separates us from other people is I think on our end, we keep really friendly relationships with all of our clients. And I think on our end, we really do, even though we're not their partners, we think of it that way.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I take calls 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So I know that they're closing their business up and something happened or they noticed something and they're calling, and we pick up the phone. Me or one of my guys, we pick up the phone all the time, because our focus is, and I say this to everyone, we don't, it's like, what's your contract in case stuff breaks? So how long do I have? Is it, 3 months, 6 months that you'll still, and I go, we don't have one of those. It's 30 days, but you call us. And if you have a problem, we'll fix your problem. Because again, I want you to make money. So you open more and buy more from us. It makes more sense. Like that, having that relationship, that we act more like a partner to you than just a company you bought something from. I think that's probably what stands out with us more than anything. Because we do care, we actually do care, and we want everybody to succeed, and not much for us to help whenever we can.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Going back to that point of what I think makes us different is that, because we do constantly take people's feedback and we try to make those changes. Now, we can't always make those changes because everything is very expensive these days. But we really do try to, as much as we can, fix everyone's issues and really just keep updating the games, keeping them fresh for them. Again, most of our rooms are still out there running. If you go to Novi and you play The Illusionist, that game was put in mid 2017. It's still running. We've done a little touch-ups here and there. They've talked about possibly adding some new games, but it's running because we've worked out bugs with them on that game as one of the first ones. And that's why we have that relationship. That's why they have 8 of our rooms.
That's fair.
So for those that want to become a client of yours, tell us the details. How do they do that? What's it look like?
Just hit us up on Facebook or our websites, Giant Dream Productions. Facebook's a good one. I get a lot of Facebook messages and submissions on our website. That's the best ways. And the other thing is too, if you're going to reach out to us, just do that initial contact and then call us and let's talk. Going back and forth in emails and stuff is great, but the conversation is much better. You really get a feel for what we do, and we really get a feel for what you're looking for and your obstacles. And we try to work together and get something done. So,
well, let's be honest, the games are not inexpensive. Did you want to touch on that at all?
Sure. Most of our games are right around 69,000. 69,000 right now, plus install, which depending on where you're at in the States, can be somewhere between another $5,000 to $20,000.
And that's a team. That's a team of yours that goes out and like puts everything up and trains.
Our goal is to build that room in house, and what we like to do is have that truck show up Monday morning at your location. Our guys show up the night before. They unload the truck Monday morning. They start installing a room. By Friday, they're handing the keys to you, showing you how to run it. And by Saturday, they're out the door and you can start beta testing and have it fully operational the next week. We try to be in and out in 5 days.
Wow, that's awesome. All right. Yeah.
But the time before that, how much would you say is set up, talking with the client, getting everything figured out? If you get a brand new client, what's your average? It's a couple months. It's till you get it, till they're actually ready to play.
If someone calls us and they actually have a space that's ready, we try to be able to get something done within 3 months.
Wow.
But we have a lot of people, especially this past
Amazing.
year or so, we've had a lot of people opening up new locations. A lot of our clients, we talk to them in December and it's almost the next December by the time we're installing it, just because they're opening a new facility and we're, 1, 2, or 3 rooms of their new location. So there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of getting measurements. There's a lot of, is this wiring right? Is where's your outlets? Where's this at? What's the flooring going to be? What's the ceiling? And a lot of these owners want our input too, because they might have played our room, but they don't know what the whole feel is. So they're like, what should I do with the floor? So we have a lot of back and forth on that, and we're happy to do it because again, it's our name on that, and we want it to be the best it can be.
Speaking of your name, when you sell a game, you don't require them to use the name that of that game or to say that this is a Giant Dreams production, do you?
We don't. We've talked about it and we've had signs made and stuff like that to say like, hey, you know what, maybe they put that on there. But it's funny how much we get from people that contact us and go, that's one of your guys' rooms, isn't it? Because again, it goes back to aesthetic. People start to know a Giant Dream room. So that's good news for us, that we feel like that people are interested and see it that way, like see it as a Giant Dream room. So we don't require it. We should, but we don't.
In the beginning days, it was harder. Everyone wanted to seem like it was their room. So they didn't want our name on it. They didn't want people to know where the room came from because they were always afraid that it was going to open up down the street. They wanted to seem like they did all their rooms. And it really has in the past 4 years changed where, again, they can't get away from it now because we have so many rooms out there that I know this room. It's a Giant Dream room. I can tell by looking at it. I know those crates. Those crates are your guys. We're known for our crates.
Yeah, everybody says we make great crates.
Well, I tell you that having played your rooms and enjoying them, if I were to go to an escape room and they say, oh, this is a Giant Dreams game, for me, that would make me more likely to play it as opposed to, oh, this is something that mom and dad came up with kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an ongoing back and forth, and more we're starting to get people that are willing to do that. A thing that kind of gets me with a client, sometimes they want to like change the name of the game or something like that. That makes me a little bit nervous because I don't want a customer to walk in and have played it in one state and then they play it again and go, I've already played this game and it's just named something else. We recommend to the client bought it, so we're not holding them to they could do what they want to a game after we leave. But ultimately we tell them that like we don't want to disappoint a person that walks in and has already played this game. We have a thing where we make sure that we keep at a certain mileage from one game to another. So you're not going up the street and playing the same game. But people do travel like you guys
Yeah.
do, travel all over the country, and you play a game. We're all over the country and in Canada. So you will run into a game in one state or another state.
And it happened to us, and it was not great. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. As soon as you walk in, we played this game. This is,
Right.
Blind Tiger Speakeasy. Why did you change it to Joe's Speakeasy?
It's always funny to me when changes like that are made. I'm like, why are you like? Is it
Yeah.
that horrible that the name of the game was that thing? I don't know why people make those decisions. It's like you bought the game, it's won the game. It's like,
Right.
so
it's a pay. There's no royalties after that.
no.
Gotcha. So it's a pay,
No.
but yet still people can contact you and be like, hey, I just need a little help here as far as giving them advice over the phone, that kind of stuff. You're there. You're not going to be like, oh, see ya, you already bought
No,
from us.
we
Yeah.
talk to them, whether it's on the art side or on the game side, we're always going back and forth with the clients.
I have a quick story for you on that. So a couple years ago, we had a client in Colorado Springs, and the first time client, they won the Speakeasy. Now, Speakeasy for us has been known as one of those solid games that everyone loves, that plays great, just the right timing, and not one complaint ever about it. So our guys put this game in. It was during COVID, and we just happened to be at the same campground that we were talking about earlier with our families, sitting around making hot dogs and stuff on the fire. And I get a text, and it says, I'm having a problem. The room's been in for about 3 weeks, and everyone seems to be getting out in about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And I'm like, okay. And I always tell the story because I feel like a lot of people, and again, it was my first reaction to say, well, they're crazy. That's not correct. Everyone has always had great luck with this room. It's done this. They're doing something incorrectly. But that's not how we approach it. So I stepped back and me and Joe talked, and I said, I remember one of our guys saying something about, wow, when I tried to map quest to their location, there was a lot of escape rooms. So then I pulled out my computer and I looked, and I was like, wow, there's 16 escape rooms in the city. And there's a major Air Force base right there. And there's a school there. I said, this might be an area that's it's so self-contained with a lot of people with time and money that they're playing a lot of games. I said, okay. So while we're sitting there with our families on 4th of July weekend and making hot dogs and stuff, we came up with a quick 18-piece puzzle game where they had to use find all the pieces, put the puzzle together, use a decoder in another room to figure out what this thing was to open another lock and do that. And I said, hey, I think I got an idea for you. It's something you'll be able to just drop in, plug it in, and this should hopefully help. We built the game. We sent it out. It was about a week or two later. We said, how's this going? And she's like, this is perfect.
Huh.
Everyone's at like 50 some minutes now. That was exactly what we needed. And that's what we're saying is, can we do that all the time? We can't. But in this case, it's a matter of looking at why a thing might be happening and then trying to fix that thing. And it was they needed one more puzzle. And that's all it took.
So interesting. They just had so many enthusiasts in a way.
Yeah, good people.
Yeah. That's
well, again,
wild.
We go back to, we build games not for enthusiasts. We build games for the average client. And our average client, whether they know it or not, most of their clientele has played 1, 2, 3 games.
Right.
That's it. So that's who we build for. We build for people, the general population. In this case, it happened to be an area that seemed like it has more expert players.
That's interesting. So what's the future hold for the company? I mean, you're moving into your new space.
We are. We are sitting right now around a bunch of boxes, and we're ready to get moving.
That's exciting. And still in Pennsylvania there, or it wasn't far from
we're,
the other?
we're right up the road. It's a much nicer space, so we're pretty happy about that.
Nice.
Basically, for me, the best thing I could say is entertainment never gets old for me. So for me, the sky's the limit of what we're going to do. And just our discussions about the new games and the new stuff we're doing, I just can't wait. I can't wait for what we're going to do this year.
Is that kind of your thing? Let's do a new game every year.
We definitely try to put at least one game out, but sometimes it's more. But yeah, we definitely try to put at least one new solid game out.
Cool.
We're in the business of designing games, so just like people who love to play games, we love designing a new game. So when we only get one out a year, kind of like, oh man, like I really, I want to do this Blizzard room, and I want to do this, spy room, and I want to do this room, and it's so much time and it's hard, but we have so many ideas of new rooms, but they take a long time to design. So, but yeah, I like to get 2 out a year.
All right, it's fine. All right, let's do 2. We got to go. We got to get working on the game.
Yeah, right.
As long as one of those 2 is the D&D one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no. Oh no.
All right. So we're going to go into our speed round, and how this works is that Chris is going to ask you a question. Both of you are going to have a chance to answer, but keep it to one sentence only. I know that could be tough. So take it away, Chris.
All right. Robert, we'll start with you, and then we'll go right to Joe. So we'll kind of go back and forth. But Robert, what is your favorite nonfiction book?
So I don't read.
That's fair. You can pass.
It's easy. Joe?
I just finished a book called Creativity Inc., which is a book by one of the co-founders of Pixar. And it was basically digging into the details of the beginnings of Pixar and what made them really an original company. So it was a really good book, actually.
Cool.
Okay. Joe, we're just going to ask you because Robert doesn't read, but how about fiction book? Do you have a favorite fiction?
Like I said, I'm a big nerd, and horror. So I still love Stephen King books. Shining, Pet Sematary, Misery, all those books are ones that
So can I answer this question?
Sure, you can. I mean,
I can physically read. I'm more of a, I have the ability. I'm a more visual person, so staring at white pages with black ink on them kills me. I can't do it. I'm more of a movie buff, a movie guy. Like reading is not fundamental to me.
So then, do you have a fiction book that a favorite?
No,
even from a kid when you were a kid.
I read Robert Goodnight Moon every night before
that's good.
I remember very vividly when I was, I think, about 8 years old, and I came out of my room. It was about 1 a.m. and my mom was reading Stephen King. And I come out of the room, rub my eyes. I'm like, Mom, she jumped and screamed. And she's like, don't ever do that when I'm reading Stephen King. And I was like, okay. She loves Stephen King. All right, go ahead.
Back
Chris.
to speed round. So, Robert, how about a favorite escape game that you've played?
I really like the Gatling escapes in Gatlinburg. We played the Moonshine Millies, I believe it is.
Yes.
And
yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
Because again, it was a lot like our games. So that I really like. It was a full package playing that game, and the game master we had was amazing. He did the Southern voice and making fun of us and doing it, and it was just a great experience. And there's guys over there who are really doing a good job. So that's probably my favorite one.
We played their other game too that I really liked, the Atlantis game, which was we ended up playing them both in the same day because we liked the one so much.
Yeah, they were fun games.
Cool. Escape game, I enjoyed the Prison Break game, and the Playground was another one that was like it was a theme that originally I was like, oh, you're in school, you're in grade school or whatever, and Robert's like, no, I heard it's really great. We went. I really love that game too.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, Joe, we'll start with you this time. What is a game or location you really want to play or visit?
So I've heard mixed things, but I am a big Back to the Future guy. So I kind of want to go to Universal. I don't know how much of them are actual escape games and like traditional escape games, but I want to try the Back to the Future game. I've been wanting to do that in Florida.
That's fair. Okay. Robert, you got one you want to visit?
The Nemesis Club in Phoenix. I've heard really good things about them and the games there, the evil robot game. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about them, and I really, that's a game I want to play. That's a location I want to visit.
Nice.
All right. Robert, we'll start with you. Favorite board game?
Again, Monopoly, but honestly, Cards Against Humanity is.
There you go.
Come on,
Yep.
Dungeons and Dragons. Let's
go.
Joe, is that your answer? Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna
D&D?
go Dungeons and Dragons. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Nice,
go
nice.
with that.
Both good.
All right.
Both good.
Joe, how about a favorite YouTube or TikTok channel?
So I've been really into a site called Defunctland, which is basically all about. I go down this rabbit hole of it's like past theme park attractions and ones that have closed down. So I do watch that a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm big on Gary V on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
I really like his philosophies on a lot of things, and I like listening to his TikToks.
The man has a lot of energy.
He does. I envy that kind of energy.
Mm-hmm. Tell everybody what the best way is to contact you or to follow what you're doing, your social media stuff.
Our Facebook page is probably our most vibrant right now.
Okay.
We're working on our website to make it a little more convenient to get on there. But yeah, our Facebook page is definitely the best place to always see what we're doing. We try to post stuff up all the time of like new junk we're doing.
Listeners need to go look at all those pictures. They're beautiful.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Especially that candy room.
Thank you.
You don't have anything on your website of the places that have your rooms, do you?
We don't do that. We haven't done that, but that's part of what we're talking about on our website.
Yeah, that would be great.
A more complete list of like where we are.
We have a
Yeah.
map of push pins, but not on
Yeah, we have a physical push pin map.
Just take a picture, put it on the Facebook.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that would be neat, and it would give the companies that have your games a little bit of promotion as well. If anybody wants
That's
to,
a great idea.
play. Yeah. Well, thank you both for taking the time to be here.
Thank you. It was great.
And giving all the good information and stories, and I loved having you on.
No, we loved being on.
I appreciate us deeming us worthy to come on.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right, Chris, talk us out.
Yeah, well, thank you both. And thanks for joining us on this Mystery Soup podcast. Keep those clues simmering, and we'll see you next time, where every riddle is just a taste away from being solved.
See ya.